Chapter for All podcast. I am Comedian Nazareth coming to you from Corona, California, the home of the virus. No, that's the name of our team, the virus. So, home of the virus. Yeah, virus 19. And all right, and the hub of the Delta variant. Welcome to Corona, California. No, I'm just kidding. I am in Corona, California, and it was called Corona before Corona ever happened. But hey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This is awesome to be with you guys. And my name is Nazareth again, and this is episode number 102. So thank you so much for also making us number 32 this week on the Apple iTunes podcast on stand up comedy. 32, not bad, not bad considering there's thousands of them. So we thank you for that. Also, thank you. In Russia, we're in the top 40. And that's amazing to be in the top 40 in Russia. So thank you for joining us. And also, I want to remind you that tonight and every weeknight at 8:30 p.m., we do have our Live with Nas show where you get to laugh with us for an hour, actually 53 minutes. And the last 7 minutes, we ask if you need any prayer or what can people pray for you and then encourage you. And that seems to be what we've been doing the last 344 shows. Tonight is number 344. So we've been consistent with you guys. Also, I wanted to know if you guys had the chance to watch or to listen to KKLA yesterday. I was given this opportunity to host a huge show that over 100,000 people in the LA market, also the San Diego market, and I was able to do live from LA. And I want to encourage you to go back and listen to it. I put it on my social media where you can watch each show. The first one was with Dr. Ride, who's a infectious disease he's also a professor at University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. So he's like Fauci. He's an infectious disease physician. He's with MD Anderson, and he was able to answer some of the questions about COVID, about the vaccine, about the variants. Really interesting. He's also a pastor of a church, yes, and he's also the CEO or president of a ministry called Home Health Outreach to the Middle East, where they build hospitals and clinics and train physicians in the Middle East. That was the first hour. The second hour, I was able to interview Dr. Mark Sheehan, who's the author of a book called Healing Prayer on Holy Grounds, talking about people's last moments of life, how this is holy grounds and the presence of God is there. And also talked about what's good for your heart, because his job was to actually help people who are having heart attacks. So he wanted to help people avoid heart attacks. So he said, do not smoke, no smoking, work out every other day, eat healthy, lower your cholesterol, and good advice. And then the last half an hour, I was able to interview my good friend, Shonda Pierce. And Shonda is right now, according to the RAITT or RAIT, she is number one best-selling comedian of all times. I mean, we're not talking Ellen, we're not talking Roseanne, we're not talking anybody else. She is the best-selling comedian. So we had her for half an hour, and today's guest might just surprise you with a little comment on that. So anyway, before I bring my guest, a good friend that I miss talking to because we haven't talked to each other since the CCA. When I was president, he's been just donating his time to use his wisdom and his knowledge to run the financial part and the other aspect of the corporation of the nonprofit. So we used to talk a lot, and I miss that. So today this show is going to be for me to enjoy with him. So, but before we do that, we want to listen to our sponsor, and our sponsor is someone who offered me these nice high end vitamins that I was very skeptical, and I used them for a few weeks on the show or live on my Live with Naz. And after 2 weeks, I'm a believer, and I've been using them. So I want to show you a little bit this video
And
of
the same
them.
products that you would be taking, the AdaptoStim, even Mental Clarity, they have ingredients in there that will adjust cholesterol. They are there to support a healthy cholesterol level in the body. So, I mean, the beauty behind the 6 products that I know that you have on your, probably even on your store, that you've been introduced to, is that
Uh,
they're very universal. They have the ability to flex in a lot of different directions. I can tell you the Emu stem. I don't know if you have a
mhm.
bottle of that right there,
Yes,
but
I do. The emu stem is right here. Uh, yes, this one. Yeah.
that that would be something I would definitely put your friend on. That is directed towards balancing blood levels, cholesterol levels, and also helping and supporting a healthy immune system.
That was Dr. Millay, the founder of the Professional Botanicals, or not the founder, CEO. His dad founded. But anyway, I've been using him. I have a lot of good mental clarity. I have a lot of energy, and I do have less inflammation since I have arthritis. So that's almost gone. So I'm still taking my arthritis medicine, but I used to get up very cranky and very like cracking, but that works. So anyway, Professional Botanicals. If you go to gethealthywithnaz.com, you're able to get them, and they'll be able to support the show. So right now, I'm excited, ladies and gentlemen. This man is nice. He's very nice. I've never seen him angry. I've never seen him upset. I've never seen him mad. This man, Justin Fennell, he's a comedian. He's a professional comedian. 35 years in the business. I think we started together. He's an executive coach and consultant with Leadership Forward, brings 35 years of experience in equipping and mobilizing organizations and their leadership in a variety of venues and contexts. His primary focus is helping clients generate sustainable breakthrough performance through effective and profound leadership. Most of his clients have been nonprofit leaders with significant responsibilities for driving transformative change in the delivery of reliable, effective, and value based services. You know he's good. Justin brings to Leadership Forward a variety of organizations he has served. Some of these include the U.S. Air Force, Southeastern University, Advent Health, Mission of Mercy, Faith Bible College, International Cooperating Ministries, ICM, Hope Now, and the Christian Comedy Association, Latin American Child Care, CUPS International, YMCA, and Salvation Army, huge companies. Justin is known for his innovative training, executive coaching, strategic consulting, and engaging speaking. Justin has a doctoral training in clinical psychology from Argosy Professional School of Psychology, a master's in counseling from Denver Seminary, and a BA from Southeastern University. This is the highest you'll probably find a comedian working in the business having. And he has it in philosophy and religion. He's currently seeking his master's certification with the International Coach Federation, ICF. I love this man. I'm going to bring him on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Justin Fennell. Hello, Justin.
Hey, Naz, it's good to see you.
It's good to see
Welcome.
you. You look good, man.
Yeah,
How are you?
good. I'm very healthy. So
Where are you living now?
I live in Florida, um, in Lakeland. It's between Tampa and Orlando. So um, it's a kind of a bedroom community. It's about 500,000 people. It's a,
And the accent, is that from Florida or from where?
oh, that's Georgia. I was born in Savannah, Georgia, and my parents reared me in Atlanta. Atlanta, we don't say the T. And then we don't say a lot of things right in Georgia. Georgia, we put R's on everything.
They say Georgia?
Georgia. Yeah, where are you from, Georgia? Mash out that light. All kinds of strange things. Yeah, they say the best thing to come out of Georgia is I-75. So I got out.
Now, what got you into comedy with all these degrees and ability and all that? What got you into comedy, Justin?
I was a songwriter early on and had been published, and it was another way to get exposure to the industry. So, as a better comic, I got a little bit better clout when I went to pitch songs. But comedy goes all the way back to our family roots, storytelling. And I was always exposed to really good storytelling. And we started the puppet ministry when I was a preteen, and writing those sketches um, probably got me into comedy because we didn't have the money to buy the puppets, but San Diego, California, Puppet Productions Incorporated would give you a free puppet if you wrote a sketch that they published. And so about 16 puppets later, we had a full puppet ministry. I thought I was stealing them blind, and they still send those sketches out today. It's funny.
That is funny. They still send them to you after all these years.
They still sell them. So I don't get royalties from them, but it's kind of fun to hear your material performed by puppets.
Now, if you had it your way, I mean, would you be singing right now? Would you be doing comedy? Would you be doing what you do for corporations and nonprofits? What would you be doing if you have to pick one?
I think I enjoy being a coach more than a player. And so I like to put myself into other people and let them achieve their goals to elevate others. So anything I do that allows the people I work with to do better, that inspires me. My personal journeys, I've more than achieved almost every goal I had in comedy. And I never really wanted to be a comedian. It just opened up for me. The interesting part, going back to a reference you made earlier, I had songs that were signed by a company in Nashville called Brentwood Music. And
Mhm.
I'd never met them. I'd written these while I was in seminary. And I thought, well, I had some business in Nashville. So I went by the company to introduce myself. And I walked out 5 hours later with a record deal. I didn't even know what a record deal was. But yeah, it was interesting. All these different sketches. He goes, "This is amazing. How much material do you have?" Well, it was all those puppet sketches that I had written. The Southern Fried Preacher and the Cart Wrongs and all these different things. It's
Oh, you
funny.
mean there were funny songs, right?
There were funny sketches and funny songs, and I'd written lots of fun. And then I was asked to do um, write the funny, humorous songs for the group First Call back years ago, and they had some problems in their group, and so the project got belayed. Then Jim Van Hook came down with cancer, and they thought it'd be a nice gift to him to laugh while he was in recovery. And so I came with these songs that I'd written for First Call comedy, and we just revamped them, and I performed them for Brentwood's audience of workers. They gave them free pizza and asked them to stay over, and it was just a piano and my vocals and comedy. And when Jim Van Hook came back to work, he said, "Who is that guy?" And he said, sign him 3 more records. So that's how it happened. I just walked right into tobacco. I didn't know. I didn't look for it. It just found me. So
This is amazing because Justin, some singers, I mean, would kill to get that, and not kill, but you know what I mean. Like it's like they had to work so hard to get that, and you, even though you weren't looking for it, kind of, it was just God decided to open the door for you that way. But still, you did not pursue it as a profession. You were more of a comedian than you were a singer.
well, in seminary, I found out that a good message has a 5-minute intro and a 25-minute message. And mine was just opposite. It was 25-minute intro with a 5-minute message. And 45 minutes was comedy, and 5 minutes was the close.
Now, your wife, Dretha, how long you guys been married?
Dretha and I have been married since 1987.
Okay, in 87. So while you were going through seminary and through all that, she was married to you, right?
I went through seminary single. So
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to marry anyone out in Colorado because my roots were back in the South, and I didn't want to keep crossing the country to go back to see family. So I postponed dating and everything. But I was ready to date when I finished seminary. So I met her
Eh,
at church on a blind date, and it was an eye opener. We've been married ever since.
Now,
We have
were you, how many? You have three kids, right?
2 children, one of each, and I have I have a son who's 30. He's in the film industry he captures audio, and he's
Oh,
working something in Kansas right now. And then I have a daughter who's completing her studies in clinical psychology at Columbia University in New York. And my youngest son, who is the biggest, he's like 6'6", huge, is working on his BA at Florida State University. They wanted him to play football, but he got the academic scholarship and said, "I don't get hurt doing this one."
now, did you push that as someone who's, educated? You got your master's, you got your doctorate. Did you push that on your kids to have degrees or no?
No, I pushed them to follow their dream and follow their calling, their divine design. And I like to say, what did God create you to make a difference in? And so um, that was my pep talk to them. And education does offer a lot of opportunities, having education, but I don't think it makes you a different person. It just exposes you to more. I think
That's a good thing.
I'm not an elitist in terms of. That's probably why I never knew those degrees. I don't talk about it too much. I
I
just
know.
think it helps prepare you to sisters.
But you're very humble. I mean, if I had a doctorate degree and all that MA from the Denver Seminary, I'll be bragging about it.
People say, "I want to do what you do." And I said, "If you want to do what I do, you have to do what I did." And a lot of people, "Oh, I don't want to do that." So I think that
Now,
happens too, doesn't it? I want to do what you do, Naz. Then you have to
now,
do
what
what I do.
motivated you? Yeah, what motivated you? I mean, that's a lot to go through seminary, through all that, through that masters and all that. What was your motivation? Were your parents that kind of? What was your parents like first, and then maybe that will answer the question a little bit.
My dad came out of poverty, and religion was the really thing that caused us to have any kind of economic growth in our family. Dad pastored my whole life. He just recently passed away in January of this year.
Oh, I'm
86
sorry.
years old and very faithful. And my mom, still alive, um, she was right beside him the whole time. Um, but I think the question, what motivated me? Is that the
Hmm.
question?
Yeah, what motivated you to go through all that?
It's strange, but I think a lot of it is still father hunger. That a lot of people want their father's approval. And when I was young, he was friends with a Southern gospel singer named Wendy Bagwell, which some comedians should know who he is because he was one of the first to record humor in the South with the Wendy Bagwell and the Sunlight Singers, or I think it was. But Wendy was a great storyteller, and he came over to our house, and I heard my dad just laughing and so um, appreciative of Wendy's talents that I remember sitting on the other side of the wall where they didn't, and I started laughing too. And then he discovered that I was up too late listening to them talk. And I determined I want my dad's approval. I want him to laugh. And I think that's really honest. I don't talk about it that much, but I think a lot of things in our life go back to our parents' approval, especially father.
Yes. Yes, and sometimes you feel like if, a lot of people feel like I didn't finish college or I didn't finish my master's like my parents want me, I didn't get my PhD or something. And they always feel guilty and they feel that they cannot accomplish more in life, even though it's wrong because a lot of my millionaire friends didn't finish college. But it's not about money, but it just there's always that feeling of insufficiency and it's not there. But so you went that you wanted your dad's approval, so you went to seminary, you did comedy, but were you first of all, Wendy used to be a man's name back then, right?
Wendy was a man's name. Yeah,
Okay, not anymore.
it can be. I know a
And
lot of men named Wendy.
really, men called Wendy
Yes, I know a lot of
with
missionaries.
the two red what do you call them, those
I think that was his daughter, wasn't it, Wendy? Dave Thomas's daughter, but I don't know. Uh, verb names are always kind of funny anyway.
So
All,
when
all
you
those names. Peggy.
when you were, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it's just I digress easy, having written so much different variety of things. I used to write for the Wittenberg Door too. Do you remember that magazine? Put out by
Yes.
I was a ghostwriter for that. Yeah.
Now, going through that, okay, you were a preacher's kid, and a lot of times, like when you talk to people like Shonda, where she had a bad experience being a preacher kid, there's a lot of preacher kids that you feel they rebel against the faith because of their parents being pastors. How did that impact you? You having a dad who was, but you said he was very faithful to, you
Yeah,
know.
well, he wasn't hypocritical. I mean, he's just, you know, um, he was very consistent. He was just mad all the time. No, uh, my father and mother were, they believed what they preached. And so it wasn't hard for us to know what they believed. And if you wanted to adopt it, then good. But they didn't push it on us. In fact, they were really surprised when I decided to go to Southeastern for my pre-seminary training. Uh, I had been at the University of Georgia playing tennis for Georgia and working toward that goal, and I had a career-ending hip injury. So
Mm.
uh, I didn't pursue sports, and I was also a good musician. I had a ride to Juilliard, in fact. My dad didn't understand how precious that scholarship would be. He goes, "Why don't you just go to Georgia? They got a band."
You got what you got, accepted into Juilliard Arts.
On
Is that
French horn.
what that's where Robin Williams went?
I don't know. I didn't ever go.
Yes.
But yeah, Juilliard as a French horn, playing French horn.
Now, has your dad ever saw you do comedy?
Yes, not too much though, because he didn't like it. He didn't really like comedy in the pulpit. He didn't like that, and so
Ah.
I always had to. But he did like to laugh, and he would brag on me, but he never bragged to me. Not that much.
Whoa, this is powerful. He bragged on you,
On
but
me,
he didn't brag to you. He never bragged to you, but he bragged to others about you.
and he was proud of the accomplishments that I made, but um, he wasn't. He didn't really relish it. He liked the fact that I had education and influence in the area of academia. And
Now, what kept you going for that? What kept you going? You said you wanted to please your parents and stuff, but that's a lot. That's a lot of studying, a lot of schooling, and what
well,
kept you going?
some people may relate to this, and if not, then they know how to pray better for others. But unfortunately, as a child, bad things happened to me. It wasn't my parents' fault uh, in toto, but a lot of abuse from people's houses we were asked to stay in while they were on trips. And
Uh,
the gentleman who abused me was later arrested, and and getting through all that, I just needed a little bit more understanding of the psyche and how to heal. And people that were influential to me during those times um, had degrees in psychology and counseling, and so I thought that would help me. And it's a lot easier to put a degree on the wall instead of 12 years of therapy. Costs about
You know, that's powerful. I mean, I just want to people who are watching right now. I'm speaking with my friend comedian Justin Fennell, and Justin has a doctoral degree training in clinical psychology, and from Argosy Professor School of Psychology. Now, there's people. Let's say people that are listening to this show, and they're expecting comedians, two comedians laughing and joking. But sometimes, a lot of times in my shows, I want to get real and I want to get to the to be able to help. What do you say to someone who's listening right now or watching that's been abused as a child and maybe didn't have the opportunities that you had to heal, but because you're a clinical psychologist, what do you say to them?
I think health is always an opportunity for you. You don't have to live defeated. You can elevate the areas that may be less perfect for you, and you can find a lot of joy. There's joy out there waiting for you, and don't give up on that pursuit of joy. That's one of the gifts of the Spirit of God, and God wants you to be healthy, just like the vitamins that you take and other things that you promote. They help your body to find its best potential. And I think getting in touch with God, knowing what God says about who we are, not what happened to us, but who we are and where we're going, is a lot more important than where we've been.
That's
So I
true.
would,
But
I would give the person hope. Most of all, I want you to know that there is hope for you to be healed and find happiness and healing. And I did. Uh, I think of my life as one that's maybe a pilgrim that's out to elevate every situation I find. That's really the word I would like as my theme word was be elevate.
how do you warn parents of predators like that they didn't know, even as pastors, he's traveling, he trusted people in the church, he's trusting people to leave their kids with. What kind of, is there a warning signs to avoid the kind of people?
You know, without sounding too existential, I think there's a gut feeling that we have to protect our children and follow the gut feeling. There's something that body's telling you that's not safe about certain situations or certain people. And while you may not be able to identify jot and tittle, you need to trust about what the Holy Spirit's telling you about things. Um, and people make mistakes. Predators will come in and they're often, I'm from a Pentecostal background and a lot of people may not know that, but it attracts a lot of mental dysfunction as well, and it does. I mean, there's not a lot of difference between a spirit-filled person and a person maybe going through a psychotic episode. So you need to know the difference. And somebody just asked me the other day, what's the difference between demonized and being schizophrenic? And I said, well, when the medicine goes up, the voices go down. It's probably not demonized.
Now, have you worked as a clinical psychologist for what
Yeah,
you did?
I did
And
work through internships and things, but I worked in my master's area as well. But I really never made a career of that. I went into education and went into development, really more the person who raises the money for education. So I got a lot of expertise in fundraising. In fact, uh, my greatest uh, my greatest student is Mike Williams. He's one of the best fundraisers.
oh,
Although, and I remember getting him started. I said, really the ticket is to be a fundraiser. Be really good at it. He'll stay quite busy. And
now, what advice do you have to people who are right now listening and they do have a nonprofit, a crisis pregnancy, a church? What advice do you give them? I mean, you have the credibility for that with a lot of major Christian organizations.
well, with anything that has to do with getting people involved financially or spiritually or emotionally, you have to tell the story. You have to you have to frame what you do in a story that people can see themselves in. I think that's why Donald Miller's book on building your story brand is a really good resource that I would recommend to a lot of people to read that. Donald Miller has a lot of things. He wrote Blue Like Jazz. I don't know if you're familiar with the author, but he really has a lot of insight to be able to tell your story. Because here's one thing that we need to know as presenters, that we're not the hero, we're not the star. The star, when we go out to speak, is that audience. And that audience wants two things. They want, one, to survive, and second, to thrive. And if what we can say through our comedy, through our rhetoric, through any of our communication styles gives them those two things, survival and thrival, they're going to pay attention. They're going to be interested in what you have to say.
That is powerful. That is really true. You're right. You're right. A lot of times we're focusing on how good we are, how wonderful we are, how we can make them just laugh. But what you're saying is all about the audience.
It's all about the audience. We're in the mode of Star Wars, which a lot of people can understand. Our audience is Luke Skywalker, and our role is Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda. Yoda he is, and everybody in that audience fights an enemy that wants to keep them from achieving their goal, and that's Darth Vader. And the success
Mm.
is being able to put that photon torpedo down into the Death Star, and that's what we want to try to do is help people to achieve and overcome their nemesis.
That is a good way to put it, man. That is just a really good way to put it. So let's say you have a big company, like you work with the Salvation Army, and you work with different, like let's see, the Cups International, which Mike Williams is with, and
We found it.
so the Air Force. What do you tell them other than, hey, tell a story? What do you tell them?
What is leadership? What is leadership? What word would you put behind leadership? If you're a leader, what are you doing? You're
Coaching.
you're influencing others to
Hmm.
follow you, to do as you see, and to command and build a team. All leadership is about team building. And the one variant that kills any team is what? What do you think? What do you think is the number one thing that kills the success of a team?
Selfishness.
It is. That's the number one core of every problem, and it's expressed by lack of trust. So trust
Mm.
is the number one, and Lencioni talks about that in his book, Five Dysfunctions of a Team. That's a great
Hmm.
book too. You need to see it. And so when you see an organization that's not functioning well, just listen to it, and you'll know where they're stuck. Because good teams um, are successful, and poor teams have lack of trust.
So what they do when they hire you to go there? Do you have how much time do you spend with the team or with the staff and the managers to find out what's going on wrong and how dysfunctional they are?
A lot of times when I go into an organization, we do some evaluations before I get there on what's called an LMAP, or it's a 360-degree response of an individual or the C-suite team, people who are above them, below them, their peers, and how they rate them on these different uh, criteria, and helps them to see themselves and how others see them. It's quite astounding. It's quite accurate. Then we talk about that, and then we talk about how can we take our deficiencies and turn them into efficiencies, and how can we be better at what we do, and understanding our team and different personality styles, and to just be more aware that we're not all made the same, even though we're working toward the same goal. You have that
Right.
dominant, you have the, I think a lot of people know the DISC model. It's very simple, but it's really quite the same. A lot dominant, influencing, steady, and compliant. Those different are, I was our guy out in Arizona. He talks about the lion, the otter, uh, the golden retriever, and the beaver. You know,
Mm.
it's that kind of thing. You need to understand who you are, what your strengths are, and then focus on your strengths to lead, and then your weaknesses to grow.
Now,
So
I just want to remind the people you are a comedian, and I remember back in 1993 or 94, we got on a conference call, myself, you, and Mike Williams, and you guys, we're having an organization called Christian CCC, Christian Comedy uh,
Corporation.
Corporation, and
Coalition.
then
The CCC. That's when emails were just coming out, and we were trying to
yes,
find everybody. And they had the West Coast group, and then they had Southerners uh, who kind of were like almost surviving, but not. They weren't. They didn't have. They didn't have club experience. The West Coast
yes.
had the club experience and the kind of the Christian comedy experience, and we were more Christians who were doing comedy uh, in churches. Or our venues were all pretty safe venues. It's different,
Right. And
but
then we got together and we talked over the phone, and you guys were starting, you had this organization, and I had Comedy Crusade in the West Coast, and we're talking. And then you guys arranged, and for Shonda to, well, we arranged to connect all the comedians. I got the people from the West Coast, you guys got the rest of the country, and we met at Shonda's farm. And what a lot of comedians don't know, that what they owe to you, Justin Fennell, is you, because of your corporate experience, you put some infrastructure into that organization that's still here today, and it was yours. And when I was the president of this for 3 years, I knew I would call you, because I knew I don't know much about corporate structure and how to bring all these comics and do all this, but I knew I can, boom, pick up the phone and call Justin. And you had this left brain, but you're still as crazy on stage with the right brain as any other comedian. So how do you work with both? Like,
well, I think the hard leadership is not try to put yourself in an opportunity that it was really hard not to vote myself into being on stage or part of the elite group, because that was not my role.
mm,
So you have to understand your role is sometimes you're more John the Baptist. He must increase, I must decrease. And I remember when that, what was the original Bananas? When Bananas
yes,
came, I
yes,
had
Bananas came out.
they offered me the role to be the host. I said, no, that's not for me. I have too much influence to do that. And Thor, I think, became the host of that,
Yes,
right? He
yes,
did a great
yes.
job. It was the better choice. And just things like that happen. You just have to be mature about your leadership, not to vote for yourself. And that's the
But
one thing back. It's hard though. It's really hard because you want that. You want to have your ego stroked and have a killer set. But Dan Rupel
RuPaul.
was the great example, who probably did more for Christian comedy in its early days. Um, but he's a very humble person, but he's kind of like E.F. Hutton. We get together, Dan Rupel says something, the whole room gets quiet, you know. So that's that personality. And
But don't you, as a, okay, you're an artist, you're a comedian, you're a singer, but I mean, I'm sure you, like everybody else, you have it into you. I want to be on stage. I want to be on the high. Like, I want my ego stroked. And how do you fight that? I mean, how do you say,
is it a lot of sin, isn't it? It's a temptation that I don't need that. Somebody else needs that. Um, it's better for someone else's career to have that opportunity than mine. I already have things to do. This is all they have. It's kind of like taking Laban's lamb. What was it? Not Laban.
Laban? Not Laban. That's
The one where he slept with his wife and had him killed. Sorry,
oh yeah, yeah, Bathsheba, David and Bathsheba,
but Bathsheba's
Uriah.
husband Uriah. You know, it's he said you did something, you took something, and that's all they had. That's all they had, and you took it. And for me
Right.
to think, that might be all that person has in comedy is that one opportunity. Give it to them. I remember one time there was a Michael W. Smith had a thing in Nashville called Rocket Town, and
Yeah, I remember that.
I
Yeah,
was
the
asked
record
to
company.
present there. I had a 15-minute slot, and a lot of people really were envious of that. And there was a little girl who was just in tears when I got there, and I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "Well, they said she was going to have us a chance to perform, and we came all the way from Australia,
Oh.
and then we got here, and they don't have time for her." And I said, she can have my slot. I don't care. And that was Rebecca St. James. And she probably doesn't even
Oh.
know somebody. And that gave her an opportunity to be exposed to all kinds of ministry and things. It's the
You
background things.
you gave your spot to Rebecca St. James,
Yeah.
and look what happened. Later on, her two brothers, King and Country, and now they're just hitting drums, making my ears so bad while I'm backstage waiting to after introducing them.
And probably she doesn't even know that story, but um, that's how it is sometimes. You need to prefer one another. And will it come around? Yeah, it comes back around to you. Or you have the satisfaction of knowing that you had a slight impact in the destiny of something else that's better. So
You're a good man. You know what? You're a good man in earthly sense. You are a good man, and that's I
I'm
did
not,
not know that.
I'm not envious of other people's success. Um, and
What
sometimes
do you think contribute to that? Was it because your dad was a preacher, or what? What got you to that maturity? I mean, that's something a lot of entertainers, a lot of comedians want to get to. I mean, what got you to that level of maturity?
I just think you're aware of the people around you and their emotional ethos and their their status and what's going on, and being sensitive to that. That uh, the stage is not my final. Is not the stage is not my goalpost. My goalpost is influencing people. So I mean, I think Rebecca St. James probably has influenced a lot more people than I ever would. You know, so it was a success, wasn't it? It
Okay, I
just
want
has
to do.
where you feel like your role is, and my role is an enabler or one who elevates others.
Okay, I want to be selfish here right now. I have my friend Teresa Brideau. I love Teresa. She's from Boston. So you have a
Wow.
whole bit about do you remember that bit about how Bostonians steal the R's or take the R?
Well, I was talking about being in Atlanta, and it's like we had words because it's not our fault. People in Boston done written the language down here because they threw them all away. You can't throw a letter away without it impacting another social group. So I had the little Boston tea potty. A tea potty sounds like something you should shut the door to, not put in a history book. But all them R's went out into the Abba, and every pirate to this day, R, R. They're angry. They had language. It was the Boston Tea Party, and what R's didn't go out in the ocean, floated down the Appalachian, river. So now us hillbilly, I'm sorry, not hillbilly, Appalachian Americans, we have to add the R to our words. Not like we wanted to. So we 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 go to Atlanta. Uh, we, we, Chicago. We're consternated. We are consternated because of them Bostonians. You know, we need a vowel movement. Now that's what we need.
A vowel
Wake up,
movement.
vowel movement. Yeah.
You're wicked funny, Justin. That's what you said. Hey, let me get back to the seriousness. I know you're very funny. Someone like you who just opened up in the show and you said you were abused when you were a child. A lot of people that I know personally that were abused, they're angry at people. They're not gonna give their slot to people. They're not gonna give these opportunities to people because they're angry. They're very fearful and protective. But
Mm.
you completely healed from that, and just amazing me. I don't have a question for it,
Well,
but
I
I
work
want to.
work toward health. It's never. I think it's just like a diet. It never achieved, but this is what keeps you on your path. But yeah, I mean, it's hard not to be included when part of you says, "I have the talent to do that," and but this person wouldn't get that opportunity if I took it from them. And so, more opportunities keep coming your way if you're generous and being, that. When Shonda, while we met at Shonda's place for the first CCA meeting, um, there was a prior meeting to that Shonda did for PKs and preachers' kids. We call them TOs when you've been to seminary because that's a theological offspring. Well, preacher's kid retreat, and Brian Duncan was there, and a lot of other people. But one of those people that attended was Gordon Douglas,
Oh
and
yeah.
and we made a friendship with Gordon there that we've kept our whole life now. And Gordon's a chaplain in the CCA and very influential person to help people. But again, it goes all the way back. Shonda was selfless in a lot of the things that she did. She was a very selfless person, and always she carried um, a nice banner of giving others opportunity. She'd take people with her. Ken Kington's that way too. Ken would always take out young comedians with him and help develop them and give them pointers. And I've always tried to do that. And
Yeah,
see,
I love doing that here in California too. But
you,
yeah,
you,
Shonda.
yeah,
Yeah,
you.
Shonda.
I'm sorry, I talked over you.
No, go ahead. If you want to say something about me, I will listen and shut up and listen to it. Go ahead.
I always like the way you are able to bring the word at the same time you bring the humor. And I think that's our role. Is we need to let the word speak for itself. We don't need to change that, but we can do the setup. We can plow the field with comedy, but the truth of the seed is the word of God that grows into people's lives. And you've been able to marry those two well, and I appreciate that about your ministry.
Well, thank you. But
And
yesterday, go ahead.
and the other thing that we forget is most comedians who are really funny have a lot of pain in their background. There's two things that I identify in almost every successful comic. They're ADHD and they had a lot of pain. So pain plus time equals comedy, if you get a way to say
All right.
it.
Yeah. Yesterday, I was with Robert J. Lee, another comedian, and we've had Robert, we've had Gordon Douglas, we've had Shonda. I still didn't have Kim Kington on the show because he wants me to talk to his assistant and his secretary, and that was. But anyway, I will have him if I have the ADD put aside, and I can make plans for a month from now and
You
talk
don't
to
just have
him.
ADD, you have ADHD, NHD,
And I have back pain, so there's always back pain in my back or in my past. But so we're talking, me and Robert Gilly, about we're talking about the careers and stuff, and my desires always not always been, and same thing with Shonda. We had like we want to do Netflix. We want to be recognized as comedians after all these years. I mean, I know people would a lot of comedians would love to do have Shonda's career, and also a lot of people would love to, a lot of comedians. I was talking to Jeff Foxworth, his manager, and she goes, "People would love. What is this going on? What is that noise?" But they said people would love to have your career, Naz. People would love to have your career. She said a lot of mainstream comedian would love to have your career and your income and your this. But there's always something in us like we want to be recognized in that, to do Netflix or something. And Robert said the same thing. He goes, Naz, even if you do Netflix, I know you're not going to be happy because your desire is to see people come to Christ through your comedy. And you do Netflix, that's going to open the door for different audiences that you might have to change your act to fit them, which is true. What is your thoughts on these things? Like, you're very satisfied where you're at. And I have to say, I am not. I'm not, I mean, I'm content, but I'm not satisfied. Does
Well, I
that
don't
make
think
sense?
you should ever be in a point where you're satisfied, where you loathe about what you do. You got to love it, and it has to have a hot passion to really stay on top of it. Otherwise, you use yesterday's material, and comedy needs to be fresh, just like the newspaper. And there's new comedy. I never got threatened when people stole my material because I'm writing new material, and so that's okay. You can have it. And it's bad when they do it so much better than you, though. Like Mike does. But,
Okay, we'll have to remove that.
I took a higher position. I remember having lunch with Mike one time. He says, "So are you going to do that material anymore?" And I go, "No, I got to go back to academia." And he goes, "Can I have it?" I go, "Sure." And he's just killing with it. And I go, "Oh man, he's funnier than me with my material." And Jared Daltrey up in Branson does my Southern Fried Preacher word for word, phrase for phrase. And at first it bothered me that he's the #1 comic in Branson, but then I got proud, like, he's doing that with my material, and it's fine. I don't mind. I'm not in Branson every week. I don't want to be in Branson every week. He's doing it and entertaining thousands, and that's so much fun.
You're a better man. You're a better man. What's his name? Speaking of Branson, the Russian comedian. What's his name? Smirnov.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does my material. He told Shonda, he said, I can't have Nazareth because I do his comedy. And I wasn't so gracious like you are. I mean, in the beginning, it was like, oh, that's nice. But then I go, no, that's my act.
Well, that happened to me in Branson when, the squirrel got loose in Pascagoula. Ray Ragsdale Stevens. Ray Stephen Ragsdale is his name. So Ray Stevens. So he had an opening for a noon performer, and I happened to be, because Branson's not too far from the Assemblies of God, and that's who I hold my ordained papers with. So I went there and I auditioned for this lunch, and he goes, "Son, if you're going to do a show here, you got to have some new material." I said, "What?" He said, "We've been hearing that for the last 5 years." I was unaware that somebody was doing that. And it did sting me a little bit. And I found out who was doing it, and people would tell me who knew my material and said, "He's doing it word for word." Well, he had gotten my tape. He used to be the bus driver for Jeff and Sherry Easter in Southern Gospel Music. He'd drive all night and listen to that material. He just had it memorized, and it was good material. And he got really good. He went on to be a part of Barbara Fairchild's show, and his career kept growing. And I went to visit him without him knowing it. And boy, I was the only. I went up to him during intermission. I said, "I guess I'm the only person you don't want to see at this theater." And he just been white as a ghost. I said, "Let's just talk afterwards, and we'll get things worked out."
Oh, how did the rest of his show went?
It was horrible. He went up on everything. He was going up on every line. He messed up. And then after the show, the stage manager said, Jared had to go home. He was really sick. I'm sorry, he won't be able to meet with you. I said, "Well, I'll just meet with the stage manager then." And we had to go through some things, but I was never mad at him. I wanted to get paid what was mine. And so
you didn't get paid.
I did. It all got worked out.
Oh, so Michelle Van Dusen is asking, another comedian from the CCA. She's asking. She said that hopefully he paid you for it.
He did, and I still write for him. Look, we're entrepreneurs. He pays me well. Yeah.
Good. Now, last time we were together, you were the dean of a university in Florida, right?
Not a dean. I was the vice president.
The vice president. And you were, that's even better. And we were doing comedy and you were vice president. I'm like impressed how much time you can do this and do that. But how did the COVID impact you? How did work-wise?
Significant. All my shows shut down. And a lot of my coaching, which is face-to-face, I like doing Zoom. I don't do Zoom. This is rare. I don't like it. I don't think it's as genuine as face-to-face. And so I just said, well, if I can't do what I like to do, I'm going to do something else that I like to do, which is restore furniture and restore cars and boats and RVs. And I opened a I opened upholstery, or my shop is called Stitches, being a
Hey.
Stitches Restoration. And I like to say all my clients are fully recovered.
Now, you you have all this knowledge, cognitive left brain, but you decided you'd rather work with your hands as a craftsman.
There is a sense of completeness that comes by being a craftsman. You don't have to have a lot of conversation. You just go to work with it. And craftsmen know that. You can't. There's no substitution for.
What
I'm
is
sorry.
this?
That's my.
That's your phone?
Somebody's
Oh,
hitting me
that's
with. I
oh,
don't. I
good.
don't
It's you. It's
mind.
okay. It's okay if it's you. I don't want it to be from my
Thank you.
side.
Um,
Uh,
I enjoy being a craftsman, and my dad was great with wood, and I wrote a song called "Hands in Wood." Um, my daddy was a preaching man, a carpenter by trade. Our house was filled with furniture and things that he had made. He laid a strong foundation where our family has stood because he was at his best with his hands in wood. And then I make a turn in that
uh,
song. It told us all about the greatest carpenter of all, who laid down his hammer to answer a higher call. But they thought he was a rebel. He was so misunderstood, and they crucified him with his hands in wood. And
oh, that's amazing. You know, I
uh,
heard Ray Stevens do that poem.
oh,
I'm just kidding. I'm
I
just
used to
kidding.
write with Buddy Kalb. He and I wrote for Ray Stevens, so that's another unknown fact that a lot of people don't know. But yeah.
Now, in the last few minutes, we have 4 minutes left. Can you encourage spiritually to bring him to Christ or to encourage him to walk with the Lord, someone who feels victimized or feel they're a victim? What can you tell them as a man of God and as a clinical psychologist and as a comedian, as a, well, not necessarily a comedian, but someone with that love and that heart that you have?
Illness makes you feel isolated, makes you feel alone, and um, the pain of being alone is really a description of sin, is separation from God. And what I would say is the hope is that you don't have to feel alone, that there's a comforter, and that's the Holy Spirit, comes and abides with you and lives in you. And your best health is to make a decision to let Christ, who designed you, to come and be the Lord of your life. It's the best decision you'll ever make. Will you be well tomorrow? It's a growth. Just like you don't get well by taking vitamins overnight, but you get better and you get better and you get better and you get healthier and healthier and you have hope. I just talked with a neighbor of mine where I work, and he's just really down. And I said, you know, brother, we got to have hope every day that tomorrow can be a better day than today. And I would say that that person who's just really at the end of their line and maybe even thinking about suicide, don't do that. There's hope for you. And so many people love you that you're not aware of, because illness brings isolation. And you think you're all by yourself, but you're not. You're not by yourself. People love you and care about you, but they might not be communicating with you. So give Christ a chance. Just ask him to come into your heart. It's not hard. Bible says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever, that's me and you, believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And you want life, and you want an everlasting. Christians live forever, and you can have that. You can live forever.
Amen. That's great words. Thank you. Illness brings isolation, but Christ just,
Brings community.
brings community. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Justin, for your time. I know it's late in Florida, but how can people get a hold of you to book you as a comedian, to book you as a speaker, to book you as someone who can help their nonprofit thrive and make more financial, you know,
Oh, yeah. I
income?
mean, justinfennell.com is my website, and I think that opens portals to everything else, or it allows you to be able to contact me. Justin Fennell, FENNELL.com.
Well, great. I look forward to see you soon. Hopefully, a Christian comedy retreat, or we work together, or if I'm in Florida, I would love to see you. Or if you come to California, I would love to connect and catch
Absolutely.
up.
Thank you, and
Great.
thank you all to your audience for putting up with me.
Oh
Appreciate
no,
that.
we love you. We learned so much from you today. So God
Probably,
bless you, brother.
probably a whole bunch of curveballs I've thrown to you. You didn't know a lot of these things about my background, but
No, I did not. I did not, and I learned so much.
well, thanks, and
Thank
I
you, brother.
hope it helps to elevate. So that's my goal.
It did. God bless you. Thank you so much, Justin. And you guys who are listening and watching, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I just want to remind you that tonight and weeknights at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, we have our Live with Nash show. And it's at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. We laugh for about 53 minutes. And then we'll ask you what you need prayer for so people can pray for you and we'll encourage you a little bit. So join us also, if you want to listen to my interviews yesterday on live from LA on KKLA, you can go to Facebook again on Comedian Nazareth and you can listen to them. And just want to remind you, our sponsor is Professional Botanical. So if you're interested in those vitamins that will help your immune system, give you more energy and all that, it is a process. It took me 2 weeks to notice the value of them, and now after a month and a half, I'm a believer in them. So if that's something you want to get, they're not your Costco, your Walmart vitamins. They're kind of high end. A lot of physicians use them. And if you're worried about your immune system and strengthen it, go to gethealthywithnads.com. Gethealthywithnads.com, and you can get discounts and free shipping if you write my name under by next to shipping. You put Nazareth, it's free shipping. All right, guys, love you guys so much. Thank you for watching our 102nd show. And Justin Fennell, we thank him so much. Keep him in prayer because he is influencing a lot of people. And God bless you guys. We'll see you in a little bit.